Hello, and welcome to my thesis presentation. I'm Kevin Carter, with my advisor being Dr. Nora Nichols, and my thesis is about instructor presence in instructional videos. So we tested the effects of instructor presence and material presented on student recall and their perception of learning. Specifically, we were testing on psychology content, so this would be psychology of stress and statistics. So our variables were instructor presence, either present or not, our material presented, which this would be the psychology of stress or statistics, and then our DBs were student recall and student perceptions of learning. So for background research, much of the research was very consistent, and there wasn't a whole lot of variability between the studies. So for instructor presence, it was found that instructor presence had an effect on perception of learning, but did not have an effect on recall. So if the instructor was there, it improved perception of learning, but it did not affect recall. So for material presented, the difficulty of the material is one part of research. So it is increased perception and recall in easier topics, which might be quite obvious. With easier topics would be easier to remember. And then perception of learning increased with easier topics as well, because they didn't have to focus on the material as much. But then for subjective material, there was not a whole lot of research in that area. Our hypotheses were that perception of learning would increase with phrase present, specifically, so perception of learning would increase in stress compared to statistics. And this is because of something like math anxiety, where statistics is heavy in math, and then stress is more in theory. So statistics would be perceived as a more difficult subject. And then we predicted that would be no significant difference in recall or face present between face present and absent. So this is also with previous findings where there's no difference in recall whether the face was there or not. And then we predicted that there would be an increased recall and stress compared to statistics. So this is also because statistics being a math-heavy discipline, where stress is more theory-based, so it might be perceived as a more difficult subject. But notice that these are the proposed methods because the study is still ongoing into the spring. So that all participants were college students, roughly the ages of 18 to 30. They're all full-time students, and then they're all pre-screened before taking the study to make sure that they didn't take a course with Dr. Nichols or that they have not taken a course in psychology statistics. So, and then this also was a completely digital study using Qualtrics. So our design was a 2x2 between subjects study with our 4 conditions being stress with face, stress without face, statistics with face, and statistics without face. Every participant was randomly assigned upon entering the study, and it usually took around 35 to 50 minutes. So this is our procedure, this would be straight what a participant would be doing throughout the Qualtrics survey. So they go consent form, demographics, the SIS, and the STAI, and then they would, the STAI pretest. And then they would be randomized at that point. So this is where they would be separated into conditions 1 through 4. And then they would take their recall pretest for this specific condition, have their lecture video, the STAI post-test, perception of learning questions. So this is where their perception of their experience was recorded, and then their recall post-test. So for our predicted results, we ran 2x2 ANOVAs for both of the dependent variables. So for recall, we predicted that there would be a main effect of material with stress having higher recall than statistics for that for the difficulty reason. And then we predicted that there would be no main effect for phrase presence, which is what previous research has shown. And then this is a graph predicting the results. So then for perception, we predicted that there would be a main effect of material, so stress would have a greater effect than statistics, and there would be a main effect of face presence. So face present would be greater than face absent, which is consistent with previous findings. And then again, the graph to show these predicted results. Discussion, the study is still incomplete, as I previously mentioned. This is continuing into the spring, and then we're also going to look into anxiety and subjective stress as potential moderators. So for limitations, this study is completely online, and participants could take the study when or wherever they wanted to. We did not control that at all, so obviously that's going to limit our amount of control over the study as compared to something like a lab experiment. So for future directions and relevance, Looking at the study, I found a couple things that I thought would be interesting, which would be the gender of the professor that is lecturing. So for this study, we only had Dr. Nichols presenting all the lectures, and then the duration of lecture was only 10 minutes in the study, whereas in a normal college lecture, it would be around 50 minutes plus. So I think that would be an interesting topic to look into. And then for relevance, it's important to realize what time we're in with the COVID-19 pandemic and the increasing online education with that pandemic. And in general, online education has been, very relevant, specifically this semester, and next semester will be as well. So learning how to give the best lectures possible would be important to instructors and professors at universities. These are my references. Thank you for watching this lecture, and I hope you enjoyed.